All right. So I have been working within my mind and to get clarity about what existence and life, what knowledge and understanding, and what wisdom is. So it's as I said, it's getting a little bit more clearer. But basically, this is the conclusions I've come to. I believe that we all are just in existence, and that existence is unnatural, speaking purely on the human race as a whole, where the natural world lives in an existence that is balanced. We live in an existence because of our ability to create and use our cunning to create an unnatural world where we separate ourselves from the natural world. And then the natural world would be the earth, Gaia, Terra. That would be our home. And we exist in that home outside of the natural world. We make artificial rules, laws, and regulations, codes that break away from the natural world, creating an unnatural world, and thereby promoting destruction, consumption, and a unnatural predation, becoming predators, which is self-sabotaging, which is destructive, which commits us to killing ourselves, to bringing about our own extinction, our self-suicide. And it's unnatural because we also bring the rest of the natural world into that unwanted extinction, unwanted, unasked for. And that is why I consider the human world unnatural. And we live in existence. We use our cunning to create an unnatural world, separating ourselves from the natural world, and thereby helping to bring about the destruction and chaos and imbalance in the natural world. A natural world where we exist, but we need a natural world in order to exist. We do not have a life. It is life that we strive to achieve. But in order for us to have a life, we must break away from our unnatural world. And we must incorporate ourselves back into the natural world while using our cunning, our innovation to create a better natural world where we enhance ourselves within the natural world and thereby enhancing the natural world. And we can either be destroyers or we can be enhancers, striving for life. Life is the goal. We want to reach life. And in order to do that, we must have understanding. And understanding must reach a point of knowledge. And that knowledge must be grown so that we can have more understanding and thereby create more knowledge and thereby striving for wisdom. And thereby striving for enlightenment, thereby reaching wisdom. And that wisdom will carry on into the greater aspect of what is our goal, life. Without that, we have only chaos and destruction. And chaos and destruction serves to deny life, to want to just stay in existence. We can choose to become, though we can choose to become persons and then bring in others, persons, to become people. And when we do that, we create a community. And when we strive to enhance ourselves through knowledge, through understanding, to strive for knowledge and thereby enlightenment, and then towards wisdom, therefore we have life, then we can enhance the community and sustain Gaia, Terra, the earth, which is our mother. That which sustains us, that which gives us the essentials for us to strive for life. Life is understanding. It is wanting to break away from unnatural existence to balance ourselves, enhance ourselves to natural life, which is why there is natural morality, natural equality, natural integrity, natural principles. These are what encompasses natural laws. Without that, we are just predation, and we are only predators. And because when we create this unnatural world where we become predation and predators, we are monsters. That is what monstrosity is. Does this mean that we cannot have technology? No. We can evolve our technology. We can have all of that. But to have technology and advances that does not enhance ourselves and break away from unnatural existence to become predation and predators without equal brings about our own self-destruction, which gives us the idea of apocalypse, which feeds a fear which enslaves us, because fear is a lack of understanding. Fear is the base for 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 self-defeating and self-sabotaging imagination. It feeds our illusion. It creates a system which brings about inequality, which brings about the erosion of compassion, empathy, which bars understanding, thereby taking away our drive to get a more complete knowledge, and thereby stopping enlightenment, and puts wisdom outside of our reach. That is what we get, and that is why we live. We don't live, we exist when we want, when our goal, our purpose is life. And life feeds greater desire to have understanding, which goes to knowledge, which gives us enlightenment and sends us into wisdom. It gives us purpose. It gives us new ways of imagination because we have understanding and we are striving for knowledge, for enlightenment towards the goal of wisdom and thereby life. Without it, we are but zombies. We are but monsters. We are but destroyers. We are but consumers. That is what we accuse the animal and natural world of being. Being predators, consumers, living just in an existence. But the natural world lives in more harmonious balance where we create an unnatural existence and we destroy that balance. We harbor our own bars, our own plateaus, our own subjugation to our existence, our own enslavement into our existence, never striving for greater understanding, thereby knowledge, thereby creating enlightenment, thereby going for wisdom, thereby striving for life. That is the reality, the fantastic fantasy, the illusion of reality that the unnatural world of humanity creates, where we do not use with our greater ability to think outside to enhance the natural. And we have brought ourselves to a point where we have created so much destruction and chaos and imbalance that it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, a circular path of destruction when Gaia, the Mother Earth, has always provided us with everything we need. And we have simply given that away to live in an unnatural existence, not strive for life, thereby ignoring understanding and looking for knowledge. Knowledge and education and all that only perpetuates and enhances an unnatural world, an unnatural existence, is destructive. It is insanity. It is ultimately a pathway to our extinction. That is our current human existence. We live in an unnatural world. We do not enhance, we do not utilize the natural world. We talk about work, but the greatest work one can do, the greatest work that we should all strive for, is to get understanding, is to reach for knowledge, is to reach for enlightenment, is a pathway to wisdom and thereby life. And that is our purpose. And when we do that, everything will come more naturally. Our relationships, our personal relationships, our connection for wanting to have a bond with an individual, whether they are an individual that enhances our immediate existence, that will also help to grow our pathway to understanding, thereby knowledge, then enlightenment, then wisdom. This will all come more readily. It will be unforced. We will not be thinking in terms of, oh, am I going to lose my partner, that individual who will enhance our individual existence and a pathway forward. Jealousy and superficiality will be far lessened. But because we have created and exist in an unnatural world, we are constantly living in fear, and fear brings ignorance. Fear brings imagination and a constant assault, which grows our fear, which takes us further away from understanding and a path forward to knowledge, thereby enlightenment and wisdom. We can have technology, But we cannot do so when we box ourselves into an existence which takes away our purpose, which squeezes us, which brings about class, which brings about exception to the natural laws, which elevates and puts others, individuals, above, and thereby creating exceptions. This is unnatural. This is what theocratic this is what theology talks about when they talk about demons and devils. That is what it's all about. This is also about what theology is talking about when they're talking about having compassion for your neighbors, for um, for all the better parts. It's all philosophy, and it is just a a hint, and a suggestion towards a pathway. But philosophy has been talking about this. Philosophy and philosophical thinkers, this is what they've been talking about. This is what they've been striving to impart. But just like philosophy, there is the ignorant, silly, and destructive philosophy, which is there because of the impacts of existence, the unnatural existence. And then there's the philosophy that speaks of going back to the natural world to enhance it, to strive for understanding, knowledge, enlightenment, and wisdom, and a pathway to life. This is something I've been talking about, but I haven't actually cemented it in my videos. And this is what I'm getting more clarity into. I wish to start a foundation foundation. I want to call it the Gaia Collective. And in the Gaia Collective, what I want to do is to bring critical thinking and understanding, thereby reaching knowledge, and thereby going forward to enlightenment, which is the culmination of wisdom, and thereby going for life. I want to fundamentally change how we think. I want to take us out of existence and strive for life, the purpose. Existence is destructive. Existence is rooting and cheering for ignorance. Ignorance brings about fear, prejudice, hate. Existence promotes wars, conflicts. Existence brings about murder, thievery, deception. It brings about prejudice. it brings about all. When we strive to bring ourselves in balance with the natural world, under natural law, we get a path forward to understanding and knowledge. And it brings a more natural and balanced use of our intellect, our creativity, our imagination, which enhances the natural world, which gives us the time to reach for greater innovation, greater imagination, thereby greater aspirations. It does not bar us from having personal, individual relations. It makes it more natural. It enhances it. It gives us more, longer lasting, and less stressful and worrisome. Because stress and worry is the byproduct of an unnatural world. Do we need some stress and worry? Of course we do. Because that is a pathway towards striving for understanding. But tensions, conflicts, wars, murder, rape, all the things that we naturally know on a personal level that we don't want. We want enhancement. We want a path forward. But we cannot have that if we live in an unnatural, if we exist in an unnatural world. That has been the culmination of what I've been striving to talk about in the videos that I put out. In an unnatural world, it creates chaos in the physical realm, in the immediate realm. Just look. All of this, that is what the unnatural world creates. Don't just simply look at the Coke bottles, and don't just look at the disarray. Understand that that is what I'm talking about in a metaphorical way. It creates the chaos within our minds. It gives us a deception, an illusion that of defeatism, of powerlessness. It is the things that people call, this is how those who are truly the weak, the ones who want to have the unnatural existence, those, they can say, oh, he's lazy, or he's stupid, or they're lazy, they're stupid, they're immoral, they're bankrupt, they're they're evil, they're mentally ill. All of this is part of an unnatural existence. It is one that where we take away enhancement. This is why we have these fake concepts of happiness, where we throw around words like happiness, where we throw around words of independence, we throw around words of aspirations, love, sacred things that are made sacred. These are all things in the unnatural world, which is but self-delusion and destruction. But we could have a truer, more inclusive, more enhancing pathway to life if but we strive to incorporate ourselves back into the natural world, to break away from unnatural thinking, to stop creating the systems and societies which only benefits a few in a purely physical and immediate way, which robs them and us who live in the unnatural world of enlightened self-interest, which ignores our ability and want for self-preservation, enlightened self-preservation, where we accept the inevitability through that, because we ignore, and ignore is the root of ignorance. And that ignorance is the foundation for the unnatural world, which brings about our attacks on others, where we listen and see and talk about, they're immigrants, they're others, so we must attack them. They are the cause, when the unnatural world is the cause. It is the few who want the exception, who want the privilege to exist and feed the immediate physical and mental and emotional existence. That then becomes the point of existence. Everybody is striving for that. This is where the creation of money and ownership, rather than community, where that community includes the natural world, the flora, the fauna, all of that. And we take things for granted, and we destroy and pollute the natural world when we should be enhancing the natural world, where we spread out like a disease, a self-destroying disease, consuming the natural world by cutting down trees, by blocking off waterways, by creating artificial borders, by breaking ourselves down into societies and groups and cliques. And this is all in the unnatural world. And by doing this, we are enslaving ourselves. We are promoting our own ignorance, our own level of aspiration, where we limit our imagination, thereby limiting our understanding, thereby not striving for knowledge, which artificially restricts innovation, technology, sciences, where we then have a vicious circle of where we continuously are at the mercy, put ourselves at the mercy of the few who would want to keep the artificial, unnatural existence, where we can throw around terms of, well, I can't do anything, or that's just the way life is. All these other things that we all, because we accept the unnatural world, we pin ourselves to the unnatural system, a system which is self-destructive, which creates the the metaphorical guns and chains that keep us existing in that system. We must come to understand that wanting wanting to have purpose is to break away from the unnatural world, go back to the natural world, and move forward and strive for life. Because the existence and the systems we currently exist in is killing us. It is killing us in every way, in our physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. It kills us. This is why we have suicide. This is why we have anger. Anger in the natural world works to move us forward. Worry and stress in the natural world helps us to understand so that we can move forward on a pathway to life. We cannot have that in the artificial system. We cannot think. We cannot see a path in an artificial system because we have placed bars on ourselves, because we have placed limits on ourselves. That is not life, that is existence, and it is self-destructive. And it robs us. It robs us for wanting to reach for life. It kills our aspirations. It kills our understanding. It is a stop sign, a stoplight. For wanting to move forward, to reach for life and purpose, because purpose is life. We do not have purpose, we have existence. And that is what Gaia Foundation is about. Understanding what understanding that purpose is life, and life is understanding, and a search for knowledge, a path to enlightenment, to reach the apex of wisdom. Do we need to use the land and the natural world to exist? No. We can exist and be part of the natural world. For instance, we don't need to cut down uh, uh, hundreds of millions of acres or hectares of 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 the natural world in order to have a residence, a place to get out of the elements, to give us a place for where we can sleep and eat and congregate. We don't need to be paving millions upon millions of miles or kilometers of so that we can have roads. We don't need any of that. We can do so we can have a faster travel. We can have all of that and more, and have greater imagination, innovation, and aspirations. We can have all that, but it comes down to the focal point of critical thinking. But critical thinking means that we must find the understanding, the knowledge, enlightenment, and thereby wisdom to break out of the unnatural world and systems that we have placed ourselves into. Rather than what we have done of taking out the natural world, which is something we need, we could have built, many of you know Star Wars, so you had the Ewoks, and they built communities in the trees, right? They had bridges that connected the homes. We could have used something like that. There are many. That's one way to critically think. The earth provides, the Mother Earth provides us everything we need, and yet we have systematically destroyed our mother, our sustainer, our provider, and we have gone to a pathway of existence, of a static existence in an unnatural world. And it's a world that the term human world is what the unnatural existence is, because we have taken ourselves outside of the natural world and we have implemented our ideology and ideas and exceptions. We are rejecting our mother, our provider, our sustainer, rather than coming together as a community, striving for understanding, going forward to knowledge, to enlightenment, and then wisdom to enhance our natural world. We have placed value on pretty things like jewels, like gold and silver, and we've gone over to paper, which is not paper, but to a monetary system where that gives more influence and power and control of the natural world that we have broken away with to create the unnatural world, so that fewer and fewer are given the unnatural, artificial ways to own and control, so thereby they can dictate and create the laws, rules, regulations, and codes, where we then have to fight and kill ourselves and kill the natural world and destroy the natural world to enhance the few. When, if we go back to the natural world and we can think about tree cities like the Ewoks, when we can have new pathways, and with the knowledge, the breadth of the unnatural world's science, we can use that, but enhance that to enhance the natural world. We can use that to create new ways to travel, new ways to sustain the natural world, thereby enhancing our existence, thereby giving us a pathway to understanding. But we choose to live in an unnatural world. We choose to tolerate the intolerable created in the unnatural world. It makes us become insular, where we value where we value in a smaller way rather than a community. So we place value on our children, our mothers, our fathers, our cousins, aunts and uncles, where we choose to place more value, give ourselves more exception, and thereby creating intolerance, breaking us away from compassion and empathy of a natural world, where we only promote more consumption, and we become the predators, the predation, the disease. It affects us on a spiritual, emotional, physical, and mental level. And we become our own self-destroyers, where we can come up with ideas of, oh, that person's got darker skin, so they don't have any rights, or they have less rights, or that person has eyes like this, or that person believes in this religion, or that religion, or this societal thinking, or that. We put artificial bars that we squeeze ourselves into. That is the unnatural world. When the path to life, breaking away from existence, is to bring ourselves back into the natural world and enhance the natural world, thereby building a community through understanding and striving for life that breaks down all the artificial things which jails us, which enslaves us, which gives those whom we use the term elites, the wealthy, the privileged. It breaks down all of that. It gives it in the artificial system. We have sociopaths and psychopaths because of the artificial world that have we have voluntarily put ourselves into, which has created the ignorance that even the sciences and the knowledge that we use only enhances the unnatural world, rather than having the knowledge and the sciences that enhances the natural world. And it only makes us want living in this unnatural world. We only want the immediate self-satisfaction, the pleasure, and gives us false ideas of what we want. That is the unnatural world. The unnatural world is what is killing us. The unnatural world is what creates conflict. The unnatural world is what creates wars. The unnatural world is the one that brings about prejudice, contempt. Unnatural world is what also creates the core where we cannot understand each other. And one of the things that must happen to create a path forward back to the natural world is we must have a common language. This does not exclude having individual languages, but in order to understand each other and bring about a common community, we must have a common language. So, much like in a lot of science fiction and fantasy, even in places, even like science fiction and fantasy, like Star Trek, a lot of times there's a common there's the common there's a common tongue where it's either called trade or common. We must have that. It does in those that don't exclude individual societal languages, but in order to talk to each other, we need to have a common tongue. And I think English is the one of the path forwards. Now, I'm not saying this because that's the language I speak. I'm saying this because in the artificial world that we have created, the ones that the West, particularly the United States, and the English-speaking world has done is made English a more immediate and common already a more common language. And that is because of the artificial impacts of the Western English-speaking world has managed to do through horrible and destructive ways. Countries like China, India, Russia, it doesn't matter where, the world must use English for, and we already do that for trade and so on and so forth. But but in the natural world, we can still have trade and all that other stuff. But the thing is that we don't, money and ownership. That is part of the unnatural world. That is one that creates artificial borders, which creates artificial societies and all that other stuff. Striving to break out of the unnatural world will give us the pathway to peace, will give us natural peace, natural prosperity, and all that. And there are many ways, and critical thinking is the beginning to understanding, thereby knowledge, thereby enlightenment, onto wisdom, and thereby life, breaking away from existence, enhancing the natural world, giving us the Mother Earth, the provider. That is the path that we must take. That is the way we must come to understand. And that is the beginning for critical thinking and a path forward.